Those who played in the VK segment of the game should know that the top of Asgard is occupied by the same guild every week. Each week unwaveringly piles on its damage. Jacks of all trades who have discovered all the secrets of timing, or malicious cheaters who have been caught red-handedly being cheap. Let's figure it out. On August 1st, 2023, a significant moment occurred in the game. The game has banned a script that allows you to cancel the results of battles, and it would seem that finally the real competitive struggle for the top begins. But after the script was banned, Asgard's top did not budge, and the guild which then occupied first place did not lose any damage. Here is the top for that period, where first place belongs to the Orda guild, and second place to the Steel Legion guild, which half consisted of Orda twins. The third place was more than 2 times behind. Watch your hands. Red artifacts were introduced into the game only at the end of October, and the script was closed on August 1st. During the time period between August 1st and October 21st, no one in the game had the opportunity to inflict stable damage with Albus due to the low characteristics of the characters, which were increased only with the introduction of red artifacts. At that time, more than half of even the full Jew packs with Albus fell in the rain, and their damage tended to 0. Then there was a stable option with Axel, and a very random one with Albus. But this did not affect the Orda guild. Even before the introduction of red artifacts, they were steadily gaining damage together with Albus, which is an exception from the general mass. Here are examples of battles from that period. As you can see, at that moment they fought exclusively with Albus and received stable damage. No packs with Axel were seen. At this time, the entire top was occupied exclusively by the Orda guild. You can see this for yourself. Then the first suspicions arose that the Orda guild had another script that allowed them to get good damage in Asgard. At that time, the principle of the script's operation was not yet clear, but there was a desire to understand it. That's what we will do today. As you can see, the top at the beginning of February was with the Orda guild. The rest are noticeably lower, which is not surprising. Let's take a look at real examples of how battles are conducted in the Orda guild and draw some conclusions. We have a fight with Jew with damage of 300 million. Nothing unusual. Regular fight. I would like to immediately draw your attention to the fact that the auto button is not active. This means that the battle is carried out in manual mode, and we will pay attention to this in every battle. At 1:48, we switched to auto mode. Next, I'll rewind the battle because it does not contain any more useful information. And who wants to watch the fights in full and without rewinding, then the link is in the description. Next, we have a fight with Jew with damage of 300 million. It also starts in manual mode. At 1:53, switch to auto mode. I'll rewind the fight. I deliberately do not interrupt the battle so that it can be seen that the entire remaining battle took place in auto mode and did not switch back to manual mode. Let's look further. Fight with Jew with damage of 370 million. The battle also starts in manual mode. 1:52 switch to auto mode. Next is the fight with Jew with damage of 400 million. We are already noticing a certain pattern in the conduct of battles. The battle starts in manual mode and then switches to auto mode. Now at 1:52, it switches to auto mode. Next, we see a fight with Jew with damage of 300 million. Still the same pattern. It starts in manual mode, then goes into auto mode. Again, a fight with damage of 300 million. At 1:52, it goes into auto mode. Fight with Jew with damage of 460 million. Quite a lot of damage for a battle since the beginning of the year. How often do you have fights like this? Immediately followed by a fight with damage of 400 million. And everything follows the same pattern. At 152, switch to auto mode. If anyone thinks that I deliberately select fights from different weeks to fit the general pattern, then no. You can see this for yourself by looking at the dates of the fights. Fight with damage of 340 million. At 155, switch to auto mode, a pattern already familiar to us. Next comes the fight with damage of 500 million. This is already the fourth battle this week with damage of more than 400 million. Pretty good damage for a guild that hits in auto mode and hasn't had a single puncture yet. Miracles, and that's all. And again switches to auto mode at 152. Everything is according to the pattern. I specifically want to demonstrate the entire week in order to show a typical fight, which will be one of the proofs that these fights were carried out using a script. Another battle with more than 400 million damage. At 153, switch to auto mode, still the same pattern. Next is a fight with damage of 370 million. Good solid damage, again according to the pattern. Fight with damage of 450 million, and again according to the pattern. Next is another fight with damage of 450 million. At 150, switch to auto mode. Still the same pattern. Another fight with damage over 400 million. What kind of a row already? I would like to remind you that a link to all the fights that were presented in this video, and even those that were not included here, will be in the description. At 154, switch to auto mode. Another fight with damage of 460 million. At 150, switch to auto mode. One gets the feeling that whoever conducted these battles knows exactly when to press the auto button to get good damage. Fight with damage of 500 million. And to get such damage, you need to switch to auto mode at 150, and he knew it. Or do you think this is an accident? Next is a fight with damage of 360 million. At 155, switch to auto mode. And then a fight with damage of 500 million. Another one. At 153, switch to auto mode. Fight with damage of 430 million. Still the same pattern. At 151, switch to auto mode. We have a battle with damage of 82 million. Very atypical for the Orda guild. Let's see why. And what do we see? We have a battle in auto mode from the first second, which means it's a reboot. That is, as soon as the battle went beyond the pattern, the damage immediately disappeared. I would like to remind you that a reboot is a game mechanic that replays battles in auto mode that did not reach their logical conclusion as a result of some critical error. For example, when the internet is disconnected, the browser tab is closed, or if someone else logs into the account. In this case, the battle is replayed. And then, we have a fight with damage of 188 million. Also very little damage. Let's see what's inside. And what do we see? Reboot again. The battle did not go according to pattern, and the resulting damage was weak. That is, we can already draw conclusions for this week. Of the 27 fights that we watched, 25 fights followed a strict pattern, and in the end they gave out good damage. And 2 battles rebooted due to some critical error and did not produce any damage. From this, we conclude that the Orda guild knows when to switch to auto mode in order to receive high damage. Moreover, for each battle, the time to switch to auto mode will vary. We can make the assumption that this time is calculated using a script. But many will say that this is all just a coincidence, and these battles cannot be clearly interpreted as the use of a script. And they will be absolutely right. These battles are good indirect evidence, but this would not be enough. But the Orda Guild stumbled due to its own greed. They didn't take enough damage from the Jew and decided to up the ante. Let's take a later period, when the Orda Guild had already begun to conduct battles using Cornelius. We won't watch fights with Jew anymore. Everything is the same there. They are no longer of interest to us. The first fight and immediately 1 billion damage. And what do we see? At 158, switch to auto mode. It's the same pattern as in the battles with Jew. If anyone played as Cornelius in Asgard, you should know that Cornelius does not deal damage in auto mode. Even a properly leveled Cornelius with an underleveled first artifact will be able to produce at least some damage in auto mode in no more than 10 cases out of 100. With the first artifact pumped over, this chance tends to 0, but as you can see, this did not affect the Orda Guild. And here is that ultimate hit in auto mode. Let's watch the next fight. Here we have a battle with 500 million damage. And again, switch to auto mode at 149. Again, the same pattern. In statistics, the battle is 500 million damage, and in the replay, it is 120 million damage. This is such a discrepancy. Next fight with damage of 700 million. Look, Isaac is standing there and doing nothing. At 151, switch to auto mode. Next fight with damage of 800 million. At 157, switch to auto mode. Next fight with damage of 400 million. At 152, switch to auto mode. Let's watch fight with damage of 1,700,000,000. At 150, switch to auto mode. Here we look. Cornelius uses ultimate, kills the full boss with his ultimate, and Albus kills the second boss with the second blow. Do you know how to kill 2 bosses at once with 1 ultimate? But the Orda Guild can do it in auto mode. Next fight with damage of 970 million. At 154, switch to auto mode. And he kills in full boss with 1 ultimate ability. Next fight with damage of 300 million. Cornelius doesn't always do good damage. There are others like that. Next fight with damage of 900 million. Look how Isaac stands for a long time and does not use his ultimate ability. At 144, switch to auto mode. The replay showed 37 million damage, and the statistics showed 900 million damage. We have a discrepancy again. Next fight with damage of 600 million. At 151, switch to auto mode. Next fight with weak damage of 69 million, and what do we see? This is a reboot. That is, since the script didn't work, the damage was immediately bad in auto mode. This is a typical game in auto mode. There is absolutely no damage. And this is what 99% of fights with Cornelius should look like in auto mode. But for some reason, the Orda Guild has the opposite. Next fight with damage of 800 million. At 148, switch to auto mode. Let's take another look at one of the last weeks. Here, as you can see, the Orda guild is already gaining more than 20 billion damage in a week. Let's watch a few more fights and then we'll figure out how this script works. We immediately have a battle of 1.7 billion damage. We see a familiar pattern. At 148, switch to auto mode. And here, attention, there is an interesting situation. Isaac died, Nebula throws the ball at Cornelius, and he one-shots the boss. Albus finishes. This is the second situation today. Do you know how to choose timings? But the Orda script can. Envy silently. We immediately have a battle of 1.7 billion damage. At 150, switch to auto mode. Isaac died. Cornelius one-shots the boss. The situation is repeating itself, and this is the second fight in a row. Do you still believe that this is not a script? Next, we have an interesting fight without Marta. Why do we need Marta when we have a script? And again, we have a discrepancy between the damage in the statistics and in the replay. This happens often for some reason. Is this because of the script? Next fight. At 156, switch to auto mode. And we have a battle with 2 million damage, and what's inside? We're rebooting. And again, the situation is when the script does not work, and there is no damage, which once again proves that the Orda guild conducts all its battles using a script. We immediately have a battle of 1.7 billion damage. At 153, switch to auto mode. And what do we see? Isaac died in a one-shot of 2 bosses with 1 ultimate. Already the third fight in 1 week. Do you still think that this is not a script? Let's look at some more fights from another week. Here we have a battle with 1.7 billion damage again. As we see, everything is the same. At 142, switch to auto mode. And again, the same pattern. Isaac died. Cornelius uses the ultimate under the ball of bread. Full boss from the one-shot, and Albus finishes off the second boss. Next, we have another battle with 1.7 billion damage. Switch to auto mode at 150. Isaac died. Cornelius one-shots the boss. Albus finishes. We have another battle for 1.7 billion damage. At 148, switch to auto mode. Well, everything is the same here. With 1 ultimate, he kills 2 bosses. Miracles, and that's all. We have another battle for 1.7 billion damage. Already the 4th this week. At 148, switch to auto mode. And again, a familiar pattern. Isaac dies and Cornelius kills 2 bosses with 1 ultimate. Next is a weak fight with 9 million damage. And what do we see? This is a reboot. The script did not work and the result was immediately bad. Next fight with 22 million damage. And again, reboot. Next fight with 5 million damage. And again, reboot. Next fight with 39 million damage, and again, reboot. That is, if for some reason the script does not work, then we end up with weak damage and a replay from the first second. I think that the demonstrations of the Cornelius packs are enough to make sure that a script was used in these battles. And if someone wants to watch more fights and draw their own conclusions, then all the other fights for 20 weeks of observation will be available to you via the link in the description. In the meantime, let's summarize the statistics on all available battles and draw conclusions. Over those 20 weeks, 547 fights were watched, of which 258 were with Jew, 277 with Cornelius, and 12 with Lara. The script share is over 90% for Cornelius and 95% for Jew. The replay percentage for Cornelius is 2 times higher than for Jew. Perhaps this is due to the more difficult search for the required timing by the script for Cornelius. For Lara, the statistics are still not enough. In manual mode, not a single battle was found, which once again proves that a script was used in the battles. So based on the information collected, it became clear to us that firstly, the damage in all battles was high and stable throughout the observation period. The Orda guild even used Albus with Jew packs before the introduction of red artifacts and gained stable damage. Secondly, in all battles there is one pattern of behavior. For the first 10-15 seconds, the battle is carried out in manual mode, where only Isaac can use his ultimate, or everyone stands and does nothing, and then the battle goes into auto mode. Thirdly, not a single battle was found in manual mode. Absolutely all battles took place according to the previously mentioned pattern, or in some cases, battles were replayed in auto mode. Fourthly, the battles with Cornelius were carried out in auto mode. But even any fool understands that no one plays battles with Cornelius in automatic mode. Under his ultimate, you need to select the required number of buffs from the ultimates of other characters so that his ultimate deals damage. Fifthly, in the battles of other guilds, even full packs with Cornelius fall in the rain in 30% of cases due to the random distribution of rain. And at the moment, there is no way in the game to somehow overcome this randomness in the variant with Nebula or Jew. And in the battles of the Orda guild, there is no random distribution of rain at all. Sixth, in the last weeks of observation, battles with perfectly chosen timing were discovered, where Isaac died and Cornelius killed 2 bosses at once with 1 ultimate. From the point of view of probability theory, catching just a good fight with Cornelius in auto mode is no more than 10%, and the probability of getting such a case will be 1 in a million. But the Orda guild has 4 such cases in just 1 week. Moreover, they come in a row. Here, either the Orda guild made a deal with the devil, or they are using a script. Now let's try to figure out how it works. To understand how the script works, we need to understand how the time to switch to auto mode affects the outcome of the battle. To do this, we will hold 2 demonstration battles. In the first battle, we will immediately switch to auto mode and then restart the battle using the F5 button. In the second battle, we will press the auto button with a time shift, as was the case in the battles of the Orda guild. Now at 150, we go into auto mode, and then we'll also reload the battle through the F5 button. Now let's see what we got. On the left is the battle that we carried out with our hands and pressed the auto button immediately. And on the right is the result of the battle after a reboot. And we see that these are 2 absolutely identical battles, because when you reboot, the auto button essentially turns on from the first second. Let's look at the second fight, where we press the auto button at 150. And we see that the battle goes on in exactly the same way, but only until the time it becomes possible to use any skill. After that, there are essentially 2 different fights. We can verify this by comparing the 2 results of the battle. On the right, the battle was over at 143. On the left at 142, Lilith and Thea were still alive. From here, we draw a simple conclusion that a time shift in pressing the auto button gives us a completely different result of the battle. To determine how the script works, we also need the script's running time. To do this, simply start any battle in Asgard and press pause, where we will see the duration of the battle. It will be a little less than 3 minutes. During this time, the script must simulate battles with a shift in the start of entry into auto mode and produce the result Otherwise, the battle will end automatically and be played in auto mode. Perhaps this happened earlier in battles where there was an auto mode of the first second. So, it became clear to us that firstly, the fight can no longer be cancelled. It follows from this that there will be only one attempt to fight using the script. Secondly, the running time of the script cannot exceed the duration of the real battle. Let's take this value to be 2 minutes 50 seconds. Thirdly, from the battles we watched, we learned how the script works. It simply cycles through the time the auto button is pressed and searches for the optimal result. Based on this data, we will make a visual modulation of the script. It will be a free interpretation because I don't have the real script, but I'll try to show the principle of operation on it. So we launch the script and it begins to calculate the course of the battle, shifting the transition to auto mode. For demonstration, I chose the difference between the two options to be 1 second. In a real script, this value can vary greatly by up to 10 values per second, or even more. The script will calculate each option until the time runs out or the optimal option is found. After this, the script will lose the battle, knowing the time of transition to auto mode. This simple principle is embedded in this script. The game does not have serious protection systems and allows you to use this principle to draw results in tournament mode. There is another way the script works, but it is more simplified than I showed the first time. The point is that when you press pause in the game, the script makes a preliminary calculation of the battle if you finish it on auto. A simpler option and requires manual control. If we find an acceptable result, simply click on Skip Battle and the battle will be completed in auto mode. Let's summarize some results. While someone is donating, investing thousands of dollars into the game, the Orda Guild is cheating damage and farming resources for free. How long she has been doing this can only be guessed, but at least a year is for sure. During this time, a lot of resources were farmed, and the entire tree was pumped up, and there are still hundreds or even thousands of seeds in stock. Some will donate, others will abuse vulnerabilities. The developers are not doing anything. The entire top ranking is filled exclusively by the Orda Guild. The competitive moment in this mode is completely destroyed. And people are trying to win in competitive modes, but such guilds kill the modes and kill the desire to donate to the game from other players, thereby Nexters loses money. Are they really happy with this? While some guilds are struggling to kill 2 or 3 bosses, the Orda Guild killed 29 bosses last week, which is 40 seeds in 1 week. It's not surprising that almost the entire guild has already upgraded its tree. In addition to the fact that the Orda Guild uses the script for themselves, they also use the script for other guilds. At first the twins were in the Steel Legion Guild, and the damage was done there. Then some of the twins went to the Garage Guild, and the damage went there. Now the cheats have reached the Skazka Guild. Anywhere there are Orda twins, there will be anomalous damage. People who are members of these guilds watch game replays. They will repeat the previously described pattern because they also hit with a script. The guild, which previously hit 4 or 5 million, with the arrival of the Orda twins, began to hit 2 or 3 times more. And this is only in 1 week. The use of the script by the Orda Guild has long been known to everyone. But representatives of the guild stubbornly deny this and tell stories about how cool and skilled they are. In fact, scripts deprive you of the chance to be competitive and kill interest in the game. Such vulnerabilities must be corrected immediately because ignoring the problem will lead to the death of the project. At the moment, the main game modes are unplayable from a competitive point of view, and the game is turning into farming for the sake of farming. Here you need to either fix the mistakes or bury the project. In the meantime, the game is at a standstill. If anyone wants to somehow influence the situation, spread the word. Write in YouTube channels, Discord, and other official and unofficial public pages. Write to technical support. Post a link to the video. Nexters will not fix anything if the problem is not massively covered. They will try to ignore the problem if there is no publicity. Judging by the damage on other platforms such as Facebook, the problem with similar scripts exists there too. Damage of more than 20 million in the month of March looks unrealistic without the use of scripts. So this applies to everyone, not just the VK segment. Scripts have infested the game and are slowly killing it.